Prior to former President Donald Trump's arrest and arraignment earlier today, law enforcement agencies and extremism researchers were closely monitoring for online threats and escalating rhetoric in the days prior to Trump's arraignment. This is, of course, all over holding classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. So now on True Social, Trump, this was on June 9th, wrote, "See you in Miami on Tuesday. Our country has to protest." That was on Roger Stone's show on June 11th. He also shared a meme with the caption reading, "This is not a game, this is war." And so, again, nonstop posting earlier this morning. It was, accusing Jack Smith and the DOJ of planting evidence at Mar-a-Lago. And look, again, we can just consider this the rantings of a lunatic. But unfortunately, those rantings are broadcast and heard for a lot of people. A lot of people. And it's not just Trump, but it's also pro-Trump politicians that have been weighing in as well. In fact, here's Republican Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona on his official congressional Twitter account saying, quote, "We have now reached a war phase. Eye for an eye." Now, later on, of course, backpedal, of course. He said that his comment was a call for congressional Republicans to use procedural tools to counter the left's weaponization of our federal law enforcement apparatus. Oh, no, well, I mean, it's war. We have reached a war phase. Eye for an eye. Oh, I just mean procedurally, of course. We need to bring similar proceedings, criminal proceedings against President Joe Biden, perhaps, because we've got this weaponization and all that. I don't actually have violence. No, I don't mean violence at all. What are you talking about? Yeah, okay, loud and clear. There's more. Republican U.S. Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana also posted this message on Twitter saying, quote, "This is a perimeter probe from the oppressors. Hold. Our POTUS has this." This was on June 9th. Our POTUS is, again, online shorthand for real president of the United States. The real president. Oh, yes, of course. Okay. He continued by saying, "Buckle up, 150K, know your bridges. Rock steady calm, that is all." Weirdo. Now, the following day, of course, he backpedaled on this and said, "Let Trump handle Trump. He's got this. We use the Constitution as our only weapon. Peace. Hold." And then added, "Patriots. We've manipulated the MSM to establish deep commo. Now copy this. Do not trip the wire they've laid for you. Maintain your family. Live your life. Know your bridges. Hold." I can't stand that this man writes this way. Very, very strange stuff. Very weird. But look, the message was received, by the way. And what was that message? Possible violence? I don't know. But what's disturbing here is, it was laid out by extremism researcher Carolyn Orr. She said that, quote, "The involvement of members of Congress, prominent political figures, and Trump himself in promoting, inciting, and even hinting at violence is a risk factor for acts of political violence." And so that's what we're worried about. Okay, we're worried about this rhetoric that we're seeing online. Let me give you an example here. Pro-Trump message board Patriots.win, which is formerly the Donald, supporters have declared war and said protests could make Waco look like a tea party. Waco, of course, ended with fire and death, blood. Not good. That's not good. If you're saying that that's going to make that look like a tea party, you should take that seriously. Adding that, quote, "This is what the Second Amendment was made for." Here's one comment Quote, I used to laugh when my mom said that she was afraid if she registered Republican, she may be arrested one day. I'm not laughing anymore. Just buying more ammo. Wait, you're not getting arrested for being a Republican. You're being arrested for actually doing crime. Don't do the crimes and you won't get in trouble. That's it. That's it. I mean, this is not difficult. If Donald Trump was not doing crimes, okay, alleged crimes, obstruction, holding on to classified documents that he knows he did not declassify, then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this problem. This, and by the way, the Trump administration is also the administration that made this a felony in the first place. Oops. Possibly brought down by his own law. How ironic. But getting back to how dangerous, though, some of this is. Again, I'm not laughing anymore. Just buying ammo. For what? For what? And that's the real scary part. Okay. And you also had on Telegram a Florida chapter of the Proud Boys calling on supporters to rally outside the federal courthouse to bring banners supporting Trump. That didn't happen. And actually, let's get to what happened, right? So now law enforcement was aware of the messages beforehand, and there was an advisory put out, and it considered a wide range of potential threats, including some from violent extremist messaging and online calls for violence, motivated by perception of the 2024 general election cycle and legislative or judicial decisions pertaining to socio-political issues. Potential targets could have included critical infrastructure, faith-based institutions, individuals or events associated with the LGBTQIA+ communities, schools, racial and ethnic minorities, and government facilities and personnel. We're prepared for anything, but we're hoping there won't be any trouble. One FPS officer who asked not to be identified had told The Independent. So now there wasn't any violence, and that's good. Now, the reality of what happened is actually a bit weirder. Yeah. There's no protest that the right will not make weird. Just saying. But hey, you know what? The good news, no violence. Hey, all right. Take your W's where you can, right? That said, according to the people on the ground, there weren't a whole lot of pro-Trump people that were actually there. In fact, somewhere I'm hearing around 200, if that. Again, unconfirmed. But like, there was one issue here, according to reports of a brief security alert when they found a suspicious device. Journalists were asked to clear out of the area. Police moved in, and they found a television monitor with an anti-media slogan. So that was apparently planted there by Trump, pals. Okay. More than a dozen African-American demonstrators were part of the Blacks for Trump group. They were there. There were some protesters scattered around the courthouse, but they weren't gathered as a single unit. And so here's the thing, right? The violent ones, of course, are not going to show up. And by the way, normie Trump supporters, I know if there's such a thing, right? The ones who are more like a little bit more casual, yeah, they believe in the conspiracy theories and they like what he has to say. They'll go to a rally or two, but they're not the ones that are going to go and like do a coup for Trump. They're like, no, we're not going to do that. Well, I like what he likes to say, or I like what he has to say, and I like that he's racist, and I'm kind of racist too, but I'm not interested in going to jail or violence or anything like that. Those are the ones that are like, I'm not going to show up to this. No, it's this. I guess there's some of them that are convinced that this was like a honeypot or some sort of trap or, what have you, right? And it's not just them, but also I think some of the more violent ones would also believe the same thing. They're not going to show up to a courthouse where they know that the cops were preparing and waiting. And so the important thing to remember here is that just because there wasn't violence here, it doesn't mean people should let down their guard. The idea that there's going to be another January 6th is no, I don't believe that there's going to be another January 6th like event. That was, again, an unmitigated failure when it comes to MAGA and their aims, their goals, right? So what I see going forward now, and again, I know like police and commentators on the left that are like, hey, January 6th, it could happen again. It may happen again. We got to watch out for that. Again, I don't think that's what they're going to do now from now on. If there is to be any further violence, and I hope there isn't, by the way, it would most likely be either lone wolf or some sort of militia-based violence, things like that. Okay. I don't think we're going to ever see another January 6th, at least, when it comes to Trump supporters. And I hope I'm right about that. But, the capability or possibility that there is, lone wolves that might carry out some sort of violence or, defacing or, vandalism, etc. That is a much bigger possibility. And so that's my guess. I mean, yeah, the guy with the pig head, kind of a weirdo, right? Kind of a wacko. But at the end of the day, he's not going to be the guy you need to watch out for.